Imagine yourself waking up early on a quiet morning with the sun rising softly on the horizon. Silence still dominates the surroundings, and there is a calm that seems to embrace everything. This seemingly simple moment holds something profound that goes beyond what the eyes can see. It is a spiritual experience, a connection with something greater, with the silence and peace that exist in the world, even though we often forget about them. Spirituality is not. When you start incorporating spirituality into your daily life, you notice that life gains a new depth. Each experience becomes an opportunity for learning and transformation. Challenges stop being enemies and start being seen as teachers, teaching patience, resilience, and faith. Spirituality reminds us that there is purpose in everything, even in difficulties, and that by facing them, we are strengthening. And in the end, spirituality teaches us that love is the beginning of everything. To love ourselves, to love others, to love life. This is the true purpose of the spiritual journey, to learn to love with an open heart, without fear, without conditions. Because, in the end, it is love that connects us to the divine, to what is eternal, to what truly matters. That is what spirituality offers us, a life full of love, peace, temples, churches, or religious practices, but in these moments when the heart calms down and feels something inexplicable. Spirituality doesn't need grand rituals. Sometimes it appears in small gestures, like when you watch a child play or listen to music that touches the soul. These are moments that make us feel connected to something beyond the material, a silent presence that brings. Often, we confuse spirituality with religiosity, but spirituality goes beyond dogmas and rituals. It is a personal experience, an inner journey that each person undertakes in their own way. It doesn't matter if you follow a specific religion or not. Spirituality is a state of mind, a way of living and seeing the world. It is an invitation to look within and discover the truths that are already in our hearts. Spirituality also teaches us to find meaning in silence. In a world where we are bombarded with information and stimuli all the time, silence is a rare but necessary luxury. It is in silence that we can hear our inner voice, our true essence. Many seek this feeling in practices like meditation or prayer, but it can also be found in the simplicity of daily life, in a moment to breathe, a glance at the sky, or in the small beauties that life offers. As days go by, we often get so caught up in routine, work, and worries that we lose this connection. Spirituality is forgotten, set aside, while we focus on the next appointment, the next payment, the next material desire. But deep down, there's a longing for us. And by living with more spirituality, we start to value the present. Instead of worrying about what has already passed or what is to come, we learn to. This moment, with all its imperfections and uncertainties, is the most. Spirituality teaches us that the true treasure is here and now, and that it is in this moment that we find genuine peace. Over time, silence becomes a friend, a safe space where we can reflect, calm down, and rediscover. Spirituality, then, invites us to seek moments of solitude, where we can be at. For many, this experience is transformative, because in silence we face our fears, our anxieties, and we learn to accept them. Spirituality helps us understand that these feelings are part of our journey, and that by embracing them, we a state of peace and fullness that we somehow know exists. This emptiness we feel is often not about what we have or don't have, but about what we have stopped feeling. It's the absence of spirituality. In the midst of it all, spirituality teaches us to accept, to stop fighting what we cannot change, and to embrace each moment as an opportunity for. Spirituality also teaches us about gratitude. When we begin to see what we have with eyes of appreciation, we realize that life has already given us so much. Each day, each breath, each person who crosses our path is a blessing, an opportunity to grow. This gratitude fills us with a joy that doesn't depend on material possessions or status. It is a simple and deep joy that springs from the soul, and spirituality is also presence. It's being truly attentive to the present moment, without getting carried away by haste or anxiety. We live in a society that encourages us to constantly rush, to think about the next step before finishing the current one. But when we live with more spirituality, we learn to value the here and now, the moment. This presence is what allows us to live with more intensity, more connection, and more. Spirituality invites us to look beyond the surface, to realize that there is more than what the eyes can see. When we pause for a moment and look within, we realize that life has layers, and the material dimension is just one of them. Behind the things we relentlessly pursue, the possessions we accumulate, there is a deeper desire for meaning and connection. This desire is spirituality asking for space, reminding us that we are more than what we own or do. Spirituality also reminds us of our connection with nature. When we look at a tree, a mountain, or the sea, we feel a greater presence that goes beyond our understanding. It's as if nature calls us to remember that we are part of it, that we are all interconnected. This connection with the natural world is an expression of spirituality that fills us with humility and respect for, and this spiritual presence is reflected in the way we care for our body and mind. Understanding that we are more than just a physical body leads us to treat it with more respect and care. Spirituality reminds us that our body is a temple, something sacred, and that taking care of it is a way of honor within us seeking to expand beyond the limitations of the physical world. For many, spirituality comes as a calling. It can be an inexplicable feeling, a need to reconnect, to seek something that transcends the everyday. This calling can come in moments of crisis, when everything seems to fall apart, or in moments of ecstasy, when we experience a pure happiness that makes us feel part. Spirituality is not about. And, in the end, spirituality leads us to a greater understanding of ourselves. It is a journey that takes us inward, confronts us with our shadows, and shows us the light that exists in each of us. It's not always easy, sometimes it's painful. But it's a path that transforms us, that makes us more human, more compassionate, more aware of our existence. Whether through healthy, but about deep questions that move us, that make us seek a purpose and a broader meaning for life. In times of uncertainty, spirituality can be a refuge. When the world seems chaotic and confusing, when certainties disappear, it is in spirituality that we find a silent strength. This strength doesn't promise to solve all problems, but offers a perspective that goes beyond immediate issues. It reminds us that we are part of something bigger, and that no matter how difficult, by embracing spirituality, we begin to realize that we are responsible not only for ourselves, but for everything and everyone around us. This sense of responsibility arises from understanding that everything is connected. Our actions, our thoughts, our intentions, all of this has an impact. And this awareness makes us more careful, more attentive, more. There is a peace within us that remains untouched. This peace is the essence of spirituality, a certainty that, deep down, everything is okay. However, spirituality is not an escape from reality. On the contrary, it invites us to be more present, more aware of the here and now. It's a practice of living with our feet on the ground and an open heart, of seeing the world as it is, with its beauties and imperfections. When we live spiritually, the pursuit of success and wealth loses some of its urgency. Not that these things stop being important, but they cease to be the center of our lives. Spirituality shows us that true value lies in who we are, not in what we have. And this understanding brings immense freedom, a peace that comes from detachment. In our relationships, spirituality manifests as compassion, understanding, and love. When we look at others with the eyes of the soul, we recognize that everyone is searching for something, everyone has their own pains and joys. Spirituality helps us see beyond differences, to find points of connection that go beyond appearances and circumstances. This vision allows us to forgive, understand, and, above all, to love genuinely. Without expecting, over time, spirituality becomes an inexhaustible source of strength. In difficult moments, it reminds us that we are resilient, that we have an infinite capacity to reinvent ourselves. It's like a flame that never goes out, a constant presence that accompanies us, even in the darkest hours. Knowing that there is something greater, something that sustains us, gives us the courage to